It all changed in the Sister Wives universe, and nobody knew what hit them. Robyn's hold on the family is loosening. Meri and Janelle are finally standing up, and Kody's silence is deafening. What actually went down behind those closed courtroom doors? And why are fans labeling it the ultimate twist? You won't believe who emerged with the victory. Watch now and witness the truth unravel. It didn't all come crashing down at once. There had been no sudden explosion, no thudding doors or bellowed goodbyes. Only a gradual unwinding, like yarn unraveling from a frayed sweater. And in the middle of it all, one thing started to become clear. Everything they believed they had created was beginning to fall apart. For years, viewers sat by and watched as Kody Brown struggled to keep together a family that was already slipping quietly away from him. But behind the warm-lit TLC moments and the carefully edited words were four women who were living dramatically different versions of reality. And slowly, one at a time, they began to stop pretending. And now the cracks can't be ignored. Robyn Brown, the woman who always appeared to command Kody's undivided attention, is getting a comeuppance that few anticipated. Gossip in the courtroom has become top headlines, and what was mere speculation is now inked, signed, and stamped black and white. Legal documents don't lie, and when they were placed on the judge's bench, they had to tell a tale that shook the very foundation of the Brown dynasty. How did the favorite wife lose out in a court decision? And why are Meri and Janelle, two women who were previously discarded, finally carrying power in their hands? It's not merely about money, or assets, or who took what. It's about the stories that were never told. The silence that was never addressed. Perhaps that's why this moment is so personal. Because if you've ever remained silent in order to maintain the peace, if you've ever bitten your tongue for the family's sake, if you've ever seen somebody else get away with it while you were the one shouldering the load, then you know why this is more than just reality television. This is about being heard. Finally, the legal fight revealed more than anyone could have imagined. Money secrets, loyalty cracks, emotional deceptions that ran far deeper than anyone was willing to confess on television. It seems, the tale wasn't simply one of plural marriage, it was about who was guarded, who was offered up, and who was never truly in the game. And then there's Kody. His absence during the hearing didn't go unnoticed. Neither did his sudden law office visits, or the frantic attempt to mount an appeal. But perhaps most telling of all was the silence between him and his children, the space that's grown wider and colder since the day the family split. We've seen him laugh, we've seen him rage, but we've rarely seen him truly own the pain he caused. Meri and Janelle, however, their quiet strength has taken a different form. No longer standing around waiting for Kody to nod his head in approval, they're taking back their stake in this narrative, not with resentment but with resolve. They've ceased to attempt to repair that which was never theirs to repair. And Robyn? She stuck with Kody when the rest of the world turned its back on him. But here she is learning that loyalty doesn't always keep you from getting hurt. Her delicate facade is shattering under the strain, and the person who once held the reins is now searching for a means to cling. It makes you ask yourself, when you construct your house on shaky ground, how long until the entire structure falls apart? And maybe that's why so many people are watching now, not just for the drama, but for the truth. For the quiet moments that finally speak louder than all the staged ones. For the hard-earned freedom of women who stopped trying to fit into someone else's version of love. So if you've ever looked at a family and thought, there's more to this than what we're seeing, you were right. There is. And if you're one of those viewers who enjoys peeling back the curtain, getting the untold story and seeing the true story emerge from the ashes, then this is your home. Be sure to subscribe to Sister Wives Daily Scoop now, because what goes down next can change everything. We're diving into court rulings, personal reckonings, behind-the-scenes betrayals, and the emotional aftermath that's still unfolding today. And through it all, we'll hold space for the real heart of this story, the women who kept showing up, even when no one was listening. This isn't just a review, it's a reflection. Let's begin. Shockwaves are running through Sister Wives land, and this time it's not family drama alone. Robyn Brown, Kody's chosen one of yesteryears, is now confronting the unimaginable eviction, rising debt, and a harsh court judgment that's upending her life. But here lies the catch. While Robyn struggles, Meri and Janelle are at last receiving the justice they were always denied. After years of being shoved to the periphery, overlooked, dismissed, and quietly devastated, Meri and Janelle are front and center now, standing tall in the same courtroom that once seemed so out of reach. What they've managed to do. Fans are calling it the most satisfying strategic maneuver in the whole saga. This is not simply a victory in the courtroom, it's a taking back of voice, of value, of truth. What does the world do when the women who were previously silenced are now calling the shots? It all began quietly, just whispers, suggestive hints that something was brewing big. Close sources within the family spoke of quiet legal maneuvers, but no one anticipated this level of fallout. When the documents came out, they exposed a naughty web of financial secrets, property squabbles, and a long series of favoritism that oozed from the bedroom into the family bank account. And at the heart of it all, Robyn, charged not only with being Kody's pet, but with swindling marital funds, concealing assets, and impeding equitable distribution of family assets once the polygamous dynasty started to fall apart. One piece of property in Flagstaff became a focal point. The house, bought with family money, somehow found itself in the sole use of Robyn, no matter that everyone's names were on it on paper. The court didn't merely notice, they imposed harshly. Robyn was instructed to leave the property in 45 days, or be subject to formal eviction proceedings. The judge minced no words. The house was never intended to be her exclusive domain, and since Kody defaulted on his joint obligations, she had no right to remain. That in itself would have been drama for an entire week, but it only got better. Court documents showed Robyn's formerly pristine financial reputation was far from reality. While cameras once depicted her life as secure, ordered, and stable, the reality was the opposite. Unpaid tax, personal loans, no steady income. Her earnings at TLC had stopped, her online business ventures were kaput, and brand sponsorships had quietly pulled back in the face of public outrage. Behind the closed doors of her once prized home, Robyn was asset-rich but cash-poor, and utterly out of moves. In the meantime, back in town, Meri and Janelle were engaged in a game of chess. And this time around, they weren't the pieces being used against them. Just days shy of the pivotal court hearing, Meri's attorneys released a shocking financial audit. The audit discovered a diverting of money from family companies, particularly a failed jewelry business, that had been quietly distributed into a private LLC. And guess who owned the firm? Kody and Robyn. Not to be outdone, Janelle's crew brought receipts. They accused Robyn of charging family credit lines, used by everyone else to fund house renovations, school tuitions, and even elective procedures, all while the other wives were cobbling together minimum expenses from frayed resources. It wasn't betrayal, it was personal. The court didn't mess around. Robyn was divested of her authority over the property, and denied access to the remaining trust funds without court oversight. More revealing, Meri and Janelle were given provisional access to the family's financial resources, subject to a complete forensic audit. It was a massive victory. Not in terms of dollars and cents perhaps, but in something far more profound, dignity. Online, fans erupted. After years of watching Meri and Janelle cry quietly in the background while Robyn took center stage, this moment felt like long-awaited balance. Social media flooded with reaction, some shocked, others gleeful, most of them saying the same thing. It's about time someone stood up to the favoritism. Social media burst within minutes of the court's decision. Hashtags such as #Justice for Janelle and #Meri wins abounded. To longtime watchers, it wasn't just a legal victory. It was the greatest surprise twist in the history of Sister Wives. After all these years of watching Robyn, the self-proclaimed last wife standing, gather quietly in the background as others were beset, fans described this as poetic justice. And yes, many considered the symbolism pure satisfaction. Who would have thought Robyn would lose everything first? Those close to the family outlined the aftermath in brutal detail. Robyn was spotted fleeing the courthouse visibly shaken, her usual composure replaced by something more brittle. For a woman once viewed as invincible, the emotional collapse was there to see. And while she shook outside the courthouse gates, Kody was nowhere to be seen. But just a few days later, Kody was seen sneaking into a law office in Flagstaff. No TLC cameras, no Robyn, just Kody, alone, and as insiders say, frantic. The word is he's busy hiring attorneys to appeal the ruling for Robyn. Legal experts, though, don't think so. Clearly stated was the ruling of the judge. The evidence was sound. And with the public so decisively on Meri and Janelle's side, victory in court could prove more straightforward than recovery of their public image. Then there were two brief posts which spoke more than any transcript from a courtroom ever could. Janelle posted a sunrise photo captioned, "New Beginnings." No apologies. Subdued, serene and packed with clarity. Then there was Meri, just a plain selfie with a powerful caption, "Alignment." Finally, no justifications, no hashtags, just serenity and empowerment. Sometimes the greatest wins don't have to be yelled, you feel them. Though neither Janelle nor Meri have commented publicly on the decision, their messages echo clear and loud. They're tired of waiting, tired of begging. They've transitioned beyond mere survival to thriving at last. And Robyn, she's now dealing with the very same kind of suffering she always thought would never come into her life. Eviction, public outcry, and the level of fiscal exposure she's worked so desperately to escape. And that leads us to the question on everyone's mind, what's next? At this moment, the court fight is hardly finished. The decision might have resolved one property case, but the more substantial fiscal probe is only getting started. Robyn might still make an appeal, but that would result in more financial documents, ones her attorneys have struggled to conceal, being made public. And with Meri and Janelle now in charge of part of the trust, the squeeze won't be easing anytime soon. Is Robyn ready for battle? Aware that each piece of paper could reveal a hidden reality, Kody's not out of this either. If Meri and Janelle insist on paying for double debt or embezzled funds, Kody may find himself dragged into the legal battle himself. For a man who's long attempted to control mayhem at arm's length, that day of reckoning is coming down the road at breakneck speed. And then there's TLC. Sources tell us that production is currently on hold as executives reassess the future of the show. If season 19 makes an appearance, it could be very different from the Sister Wives we grew up watching. Less about family dinners and more about drama in the courtroom. Less about polygamy, more about betrayal, healing and what's left once the house burns to the ground. Because let's face it, this isn't about marriage anymore. It's about legacy, secrets, and the price of silence. Once upon a time, Robyn wore the crown. Now even the castle is falling apart. She owned the keys to Kody's heart. Even for a period of time, she was in charge of the family's money, course and destiny. And now, the women she presumed had been left behind, have emerged victorious and walked off with the grand prize of a lifetime. And left Robyn with nothing but queries. As viewers see it all go down, one question keeps rising. Was Robyn ever really the victim? Or was she the last boss in a very long, agonizing game? Meanwhile, Kody's life is changing as well, with his spiritual arrangements broken up and his attention concentrated on a monogamous life with Robyn. He's attempting, at least in public, to repair the pieces of his fractured family. In a recent episode of TLC in April, fans witnessed him take a very unusual step toward mending. He drove 8 long hours from Flagstaff to Utah to spend time with the children he shares with Christine and Janelle. Could this be the start of healing, or simply more damage control? The trip was fine, Kody says. He had a brief Valentine's Day dinner with Robyn, in which he reported the reunion with the kids as really good. But there was one conversation that hit him hard. Kody told of a moving discussion with his and Christine's oldest daughter, Aspen, who is 30 now. She didn't sugarcoat it. As they spoke, Aspen asked him point blank, "What did I do? Why don't you like me?" For Kody it was a shock. He explained to Robyn that Aspen's comments stung because they took into account not only her hurt, but the ripple effect of his tension with her mother. He protested, "Sweetheart, I love you. I always have. And I always will." They continued to discuss in depth, attempting to establish a relationship beyond the shadow of past pain. Without the anger, without the blame, but is love sufficient to restore what's already in pieces? When Kody sat down with Robyn, and related to her his journey to Utah, he spoke with part relief, part hurt. He informed her that reconnecting with the children made their bond stronger. But underlying that, you could hear the guilt. He said he did not always feel comfortable calling his children after the divorces. Aspen, Christine's oldest, said she never kept him out. But Kody said it was not what anybody did. It was the way things felt, like the door had shut and nobody had even seen it. Sometimes distance is not quantified in miles. It's quantified in silence. He told Robyn that after the splits, he felt alienated. One by one, the relationships with his kids began to fray. Kody pointed to the divorce with Christine in late 2021 as the beginning. After that, came the unraveling with Janelle, then Meri. And with each falling domino, his ties to the children grew more distant. He had a hard time with everyone in relationships, ranging from Janelle's kids such as Logan, Madison and the deceased Garrison, to Gabriel and Savannah. Then there was Christine's crew, Aspen, Mykelti, Peden, Gwendolyn, Isabel, and Truly. Kody said he felt they weren't respectful of the breakup's privacy. They reported characterizing him badly to the kids. "Your dad's like this. Your dad's like that." He quoted what he thinks his children heard repeatedly. And since he was not physically around in their homes, those impressions remained. When you're not around to present yourself, someone else will present you. That's why he claimed to be trying to rebuild relationships, ones that don't go through the sieve of his ex-wife's opinion. But Christine wasn't buying that. On television she made that clear. "I don't talk trash about Kody to my kids. I never have." She even shared with E! News last year that she's attempted to make the kids be open to receiving phone calls, open to forgiveness. She would like them to be available in case Kody calls. "Just answer the phone," she says. And most of all, she wants him to try harder. Christine testified with sincerity, stating, "These kids are some of the best people I've ever met. They are incredible. And if Kody decides not to invest in relationships with them, well, that's his loss. You can't be part of the harvest if you never work to plant the seed." And Christine's not the only one coming clean. Meri Brown has too opened up about her history with Kody, and how long she held on to hope. Meri confessed that for years, Kody was always sending her mixed signals. She recalled him making statements such as, "When we head to Flagstaff, it'll be a fresh start for us." That was in 2018, so she clung, in case it did happen. But it ended up being just another false start. This is what he's done for many, many years. Meri explained during the season premiere of the show. What bothered her most wasn't so much that Kody didn't want to be married. It was that he refused to say it aloud. He made her think they had a future, while slowly drifting away from her. Hope can be such a beautiful thing, until it becomes a trap. Kody then attempted to justify what he had done by stating that he had changed his mind when trying to sort it out. "Why would I do this?" he questioned himself. "I wouldn't court and date her now." It was a harsh reality, but at least it was true. By early 2023, Meri's friends were done watching her wait. "We're here for you," they said. "It's about damn time." And finally Meri agreed. She realized Kody had been pushing her out all along, not directly, but through distance, detachment and cold statements like, "I don't love you." That way if she left, he didn't have to be the one who walked away. No guilt, no blame. And as the dust settled over their broken marriage, another subject arose. Coyote Pass. Each family has a dream, until dollars, hours and heartbreak put it underground. The 14-acre lot had been a shared dream, a big old homestead in Flagstaff, where each wife would have her own room. But now, Kody confessed to wanting to sell. The family had not paid off the entire $820,000, and construction was impossible until they did. "I'd rather scrap it," he told Robyn. "Sell it and just start again somewhere else." But Robyn for once pushed back. "I can't talk about that," she replied. "That's not where I'm at." Her response was curt, but telling. For years Robyn was the one who seemed to have Kody's full attention, the one who got the house, the effort, the affection. But even that dream was starting to fade. Love was meant to be multiplied, but somehow along the way, it just disappeared. And maybe the toughest truth of all came on the show's June one-on-one special. Kody, in a moment of weakness, confessed to something many fans already believed. He testified it was just a knee-jerk reaction, but he admitted that at one time, he testified he never really loved his ex-wives. That line stung, because regardless of how it ended, there were years, decades worth of memories created in that household. And to reduce it all to something not real, that was a gut punch not only to the women, but to fans who'd invested so much in the narrative. Kody reflected on the past couple of years in a tone that was defensive as well as exhausted. "I was in a space of reactionary bitterness," he confessed, attempting to justify why he at one time informed Meri that he never really loved her,
even while on an anniversary date with her. It was a declaration that took many aback, particularly Meri. In a subsequent interview with a friend, documented in a September 2024 episode, Meri subtly pushed back. She felt he had loved her at one point, and if he hadn't, then why offer a ring? Why commit over 3 decades to someone you allegedly never loved? What sort of man selects a woman merely to demonstrate he can come to love her? Meri asked it simply, how mean is that to select me out of a crowd? And say I select you to try to make myself love for the next 32 years. Kody also had his own spin. In a follow-up interview he snorted, "Ooh, Meri has her little accusations now," dismissing it. But he went on and doubled down. He said they never enjoyed a honeymoon period. This marriage was on the rocks the whole time, he asserted on October 20th. How did he know that? Because as he explained, his other weddings with Janelle, with Christine, with Robyn were all better. But he conceded, he didn't walk out because in their religious community, a man who walks out on a wife might not be permitted to remarry. Leadership demands commitment, not walking out. Sometimes faith isn't a comfort, it's a chain. That pressure kept Kody from walking away, even when the marriage had been dead for years. But ironically, though he wasn't permitted to request a divorce, he managed to slip out quietly. He ceased to trust Janelle, as well. When it came to Arizona property, he wouldn't discuss the details with her. "We'll pay it off when it's time," he explained in a confessional during the September 22nd episode. "But I'm not giving you any details, because I'm tired of things being passed around this broken family like gossip." Janelle had a different view. "He leaks like a sieve," she told her own interview. And it wasn't all about houses. In Janelle's opinion, Kody confided in her about his other wives, things that she thought he shouldn't have shared with her. Over time, Kody appeared to redefine the history of his marriage to Meri. He claimed they hardly knew one another when they married. She was 19, he was 21. They'd wedded both legally and spiritually, but by 2014 they had filed for legal dissolution so he could adopt Robyn's children. You don't realize how little you had in common until it's too late to change it. Looking back, Kody said Meri had baggage. He didn't realize until too late. He thought he could manage it in the beginning, but things deteriorated over time. He said, "Everything became a struggle. I can't live in a world where she's angry at me all the time," he said. And yet even then, he did not leave. Because in their world, you do not leave. You just suffer through. But Kody admitted he wasn't totally checked out either. Part of him hoped they could fix things. That's why he gave off what Meri called mixed messages. But every time they were together, he said she wasn't fun. She wasn't nice, wasn't kind, wasn't interested. "I'd try to be curious about her, and I'd just get bored." He did admit something significant, however. "I can understand why Meri felt abandoned," he said. But then he went on, "I didn't kick me out." He noted that Christine, Janelle and Meri had all made individual decisions for him to leave the home. They were the ones who shut the door. Occasionally the farewell is said long before the person. Meri, however, sought something formal beyond simply walking out the door. She sought a spiritual divorce. Late in 2022, she attended their church and requested a release. Though she and Kody had never been legally wed anymore, she said that all four of them, Christine, Janelle and Robyn, had formed a covenant marriage in their faith. That spiritual connection still held importance to Meri, and she did not wish to be married to Kody for all eternity, if he did not have feelings for her. "Let's just untangle this entirely," she told him on the September 22nd show. Kody didn't approve of that. He didn't want the church leaders to be involved. He said, "We are held accountable to God. I don't want to be held accountable to this church and all their BS." So he instructed Meri to go live her own life. But in fact, he acknowledged it had been long over. "I needed her just to go away," he admitted, because it took so long for her to finally get it was done. And meanwhile, behind the scenes, the kids were drifting apart from one another. The hurt between parents doesn't remain just it leaks over into the children. A single text message exchange regarding a 2021 holiday gift situation resulted in a big fight among the Brown children. Christine laid it out bluntly. "It all went bad. It all went south." Following the blow-up holiday gift-giving thread, the family split became impossible to avoid. Kody, Robyn and their kids were on one side. On the other were Christine, Janelle and their kids. And in between it all, a divide that seemed deeper than. Christine then remembered how everything unraveled. Kody and Robyn and their children were one group, she stated, and they did not want anything to do with Janelle, me and our children. That one strand ignited something greater, and for many it was when things really fell apart. Robyn herself attempted to soften the story. She claimed her older children didn't shun the others. They simply felt the swap had become emotionally unsafe. She maintained it was not a matter of severing ties, but rather distancing. It got yucky, she said, and they just needed some space. But sometimes taking space becomes silent, and silent, that becomes a wall. Gabriel, Janelle's son, was among the few who remained hopeful. During the episode on October 3rd, he confessed something very. The thing I want most is to have a relation with Robyn's kids again. He continued to speak about cute memory, how Aurora was his favorite person during middle school, and how during high school, he always made it a point to spend time with. But then his tone shifted. I'm not hopeful, he said quietly, for a relationship with Dad and Robyn. That line landed like a gut punch. The Browns' downfall isn't a family falling apart. It's a public, painful destruction fueled by resentment, denial, and a never shut off camera. When three wives leave one man, it's never about one fight, or even a single bad year. It's a pattern, a legacy. For most fans who have been following Sister Wives since the start, none of this was a surprise. Kody Brown's gradual distancing from his initial three wives began many moons before any public announcement. When Robyn came into the scene, things change. You don't need to declare that you've. People will know when you. Christine, Janelle, and Meri had always felt marginalized. And since Robyn became number 4, Kody's energy appeared to be spent on requirement, her household and her kids. Gradually, his presence among the other fans. So did his work. Most fans feel that Kody took advantage of the COVID pandemic as cover, an excuse to play fake with Robyn, and leaving the other wives and without any. And when the cracks were too apparent not to, rather than take responsibility, Kody faulted his wives. He accused them of being the ones who would not obey him. Now though in season 19, Kody is attempting to rewrite the narrative. He's worked double time trying to change public perception, presenting himself as misunderstood, mistreated and misrepresented. But to some it looks and feels like a desperate PR attempt. When a man repeatedly declares that he's the, sometimes it pays to ask, someone's really been. Some supporters contend Kody has been cold to his first 3 wives on this. Not because he was trying to make things right, but because he hoped they would. That way he could be the befuddled heartbroken, not the guy who did it all. And what about Robyn? Where once the symbol of a promising new beginning, Robyn is now seen by most to represent the face of collapse. She entered into the family with a firm commitment to plural marriage, particularly after previous. For some time she seemed to have faith in the lifestyle more than the others. But over time that idealism coalesced into something. Robyn tended to present herself as the victim, hurt, misunderstood, judged. And although she professed to be attempting the family together, many believe was making herself the disagreement. Some have heroes and villains, but most simply have individuals who stopped living. Robyn and Kody now appear hell-bent on blaming everyone else for the collapse. They look to Christine, Janelle, and Meri that they lost the vision. But increasingly viewers think what actually happened and sorrowful. Kody to live as a monogamous man with Robyn, yet he did not want to relinquish the advantages. He still demanded the others provide for his children, take care of the homes, their finance, yet without getting the love or attention that
He attempted to get both ends, and now the result is here. Without Robyn, Kody's assertions of regret, sadness, or being misunderstood wouldn't carry anywhere near the same import. She's the one repeating his sentiments, sometimes even saying them for him, particularly when his own behavior paints a very different picture. When Kody appears on screen, it's not with tearful apologies or self-reflection. It's with defensiveness, frustration, and frequently silence where there should be. But what if somebody else continues making your excuses for you? Robyn has entered a role familiar to many women in classic marriages, covering for a partner who doesn't want to change. She attempts to smooth out his rough spots, fill in the emotional gaps, and validate his story, even when its cracks are apparent. This is not new, of course. For generations, women in patriarchal families have been expected to defend the men they love, even when those men show little evidence they deserve it. Robyn is doing just that. And whether she knows it or not, it's pulling her into the very same criticism Kody's been getting. The more she defends him, the more fans begin to see her as part of the issue. The more she makes light of his behavior, the more she becomes a reflection of it. Sometimes standing with someone means standing in their shadow, no matter how dark it gets. Even as Robyn rebels periodically, Riley correcting his temper or his tone, it's not sufficient to disentangle herself from the consequences. Because ultimately, she's still enabling the system that permits Kody to act the way he acts. She keeps holding out hope the family will go back to their roles, that everyone will trail off after Kody once more. But what if those roles were never equitable in the first place? Kody claims to be not a patriarch, even claimed it in his latest episode. Then, in the very next sentence, demands respect, compliance, and complete deference to his leadership, particularly from his ex-wives and his grown-up kids. It's difficult to fail to observe the paradox. He desires all the privileges of being in charge, without embracing the accountability that goes with it. And Robyn, by repeating the same messages, by softly rephrasing Kody's tone without confronting his thinking, she ends up reinforcing the very imbalance that hurt so in the beginning. It's a familiar cycle, one that's particularly easy to see for viewers who've had this dynamic in their own lives or in the lives of the women they love. It's not always boisterous. Sometimes patriarchy is the sound of concern, or silence, or soothing words that conceal harsh realities. The reality is, Robyn has taken on the role of the peacemaker and the victim. She's tearfully expressed wanting togetherness, wanting to be understood. But that vulnerability consistently hides a stronger motivation, her demand that everyone else fall into line behind Kody's lead. She desires peace, but on Kody's condition. And now, more people are wondering if she's really after harmony, or simply control with a gentler hand. In the latest season, we've seen Robyn start to push back against Kody, just a little. She's shown more frustration, more emotion, but even in those moments, she never really holds him accountable. Not in the way the other wives have. Not in the way that might truly make a difference. And by not doing that, she keeps enabling his worst habits, covering for him, sympathizing with him, giving him excuses to continue shirking responsibility. When a person always says it's not their fault, sometimes it's because they know someone else will do it for them. As the season evolves, the dynamics have never been more defined. Christine, Janelle, and Meri came out of the darkness, speaking their truth, drawing boundaries, and moving away. The most comfortable place for Kody is indeed to remain where his one wife still perceives him to be the head of the family. And Robyn, whether she notices or not, her narrative is shifting as well. Once seen as the peacemaker, now she's being regarded as the enabler. Once admired for her dedication to family, now she's being critiqued for her devotion to someone who's harmed so many. And viewers in particular, those who've experienced their own dysfunctional family situations, are paying attention. The next episode of Sister Wives is Sundays at 10 p.m. on TLC and can also be accessed via Max. But viewers aren't tuning in for the drama, they're tuning in to find out who comes forward, who remains silent, and who finally speaks truth, without someone else doing it for them.